Coach, how are you?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, loud and clear. Thank you for taking out the time to jump on the show. Man, so you coming from a funeral? You sure you up for this?
No, I'm good. It was just a friend of mine. I just was just signing the book for their mom. You know what I mean? I didn't really like go. I just went to the viewing part and just to show my respects. I'm heading down to the gym right now to get to work.
Okay, okay. So obviously before the big fight with Crawford and Earl
Spence.
Spence, you had did an interview that was I believe on Boxing Scene, but it was a video interview that you did probably at a fight or something. They used the quotes and you said you wouldn't be surprised. I'm paraphrasing that you wouldn't be surprised if both men went down. You were partially correct there, but were you surprised at the overall outcome and even the fight itself, the way that it played out?
Um, I thought that Crawford was the puncher in the fight, so I wasn't surprised that he was able to knock Earl down. The the thing that surprised me was the overall dominance of the performance. That was a little bit surprising. Crawford was like in the zone that night. You know, he put on a masterful performance. So that kind of that surprised me a little bit. You know, to see a guy you know be at his best when his best is needed, when the lights is shining the most, and to come up with that kind of performance. Where people was criticizing his legacy and his resume, and just to put that kind of performance together to kind of shut everybody up. That was some special stuff. So that surprised me a little bit.
Now, I also watched an interview this morning where you said even though Crawford looked as good as he did, the Jaron Boots Ennis fight is still a 50-50 fight. Can you elaborate a little bit on why you believe that fight is 50-50?
Because every fight is different. Um, um, every time you get in the ring is different. Uh, Crawford, I got all the respect in the world for him. I think he's a Hall of Famer and a great, great fighter. I've always said that even before the Spence fight. I didn't understand why people were so hard on him. He's 18 and 0 in title fights, through three weight divisions. So, even if the guys aren't A plus superstars that he's fighting, just to beat that many solid, even B level guys is not easy. People get upset in boxing. I'll give you an example of it. Um, George Kambosos is not like a special fighter. Teofimo Lopez is a special fighter. He's proven it. But George Kambosos was having a great day. Teofimo Lopez, whatever trouble he was having, they get in the ring. Lopez loses. Things can happen in boxing. So people just take that for granted that every day is not your best day. But Jaron Boots Ennis, I think he's also a special talent. Uh, I think that, with his reflexes, his ability to switch, um, his overall athleticism, his youth, he's 10 years younger. I think it's a very, very competitive fight. I'm not saying he'll win. I'm not saying he can beat Crawford. I'm not saying all of that. What I'm saying is that the fight is not a blowout. If you know what you're looking at, that kid is special, and I believe he's on the level. He just hasn't had a chance to prove it yet. Sometimes in this era, everybody knocks guys' resumes, but you can only fight who is willing to fight you. And we just seen that with Crawford. People talked about his resume. He never fought this person, never fought that person. And when he stepped up against the big bad wolf, he proved that he was on the level. And I think that Boots is on the level also. He just hasn't had a chance to prove, with the right opponent in front of him.
Now, coach, some people look at that fight on paper, they look at 40 and 0 versus 31 and 0. Some people like myself, when they look at that fight, I look at 18 world title fights to 0 world title fights.
Hmm.
How much of
Hmm.
a factor do you believe that plays in for a guy like Jaron Ennis? Should his world title fight be against arguably one of the greatest to ever do it, the only man to accomplish two-time undisputed.
Um, that's how it be sometimes. You can't help who's in your era. You can't help your birthday. Jaron Boots Ennis is a fighter. So when people say, should it be against Terrence Crawford? It should be against whoever is the champion at the time. That's what real fighters do. I want y'all to just think about this for a second. Jermaine Taylor, when he was coming up, he can't say, "Oh man, I don't want to fight a legend in Bernard Hopkins with 20 title defenses. I can't. I don't want to fight a guy that has 4 belts and that's going to the Hall of Fame in my first title fight." He has to be a fighter and say, if that's the guy that's there when I get there, then that's who I'm gonna fight. Just think about that. Sometimes I'm not accusing you guys of this, but sometimes the media, you know, they talk out of both sides of their mouth. They want guys to have good competition and they want guys to step up and take big fights. And then now we got a kid that wants it, and then everybody's saying, "Well, he's not ready." You can't have it both ways. You know what I'm saying? If y'all, he would get killed if his dad or him came out and was like, "Oh, we can't fight Crawford. He's too good." That's not how a fighter and his team's supposed to think. He's supposed to think that he can win, and if he's the underdog and the people going against him, he's supposed to want to shut everybody up. I know. Listen, nobody talked about Terrence Crawford's 18 title defenses before he fought Earl Spence. All I heard was, man, he never fought nobody. He got hurt by Gamboa at 135. Blah 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 blah. And then he stepped up and he did it. And then now people saying, well, Boots may not be ready for him. It's a fight. Terrence Crawford had to get his first title shot. Earl Spence had to get his first title shot. The only thing I'm saying is the kid deserves a shot. And if Crawford is the champion and that's the person that wants to grant him the title shot, then so be it. But he deserves a shot, and I believe that he will be competitive in the shot. And I don't want to seem like I'm lobbying for Boost to get a title shot because I don't have anything to do with his career. I just know him. I know Terrence Crawford. I think they both excellent fighters. I just think that the kid is ready for a title shot, and if he lose, he lose. But I think he's on the level, and there's nobody else at welterweight that would give Terrence Crawford the competitive um, fight that Ennis will, in my opinion.
Wow, you said nobody else at welterweight?
Nope, nobody else. I believe that Ennis is the right now the second best welterweight in the world behind Crawford because Spence has said he's going to move up to 154. I believe that Ennis will beat everybody in the division, for the exception of Crawford. I don't know who wins that fight, but I think that anybody else that they match him against, he will beat him.
Coach, is special a good word to use to for Gervonta Davis?
Man, uh, I'll say yeah, man. I think the world of Gervonta Davis. I know his competition hasn't been quite up to par with what the media wants, and I know that he hasn't fought the Haney's. I think that those guys got dealt a disservice when they got nicknamed the Four Kings. That was a different era, different mentality, different kind of fighters. It's hard to compare with Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, and Marvin Hagler. Them guys are crazy. They'll fight anybody. It's just a different time. So these kids got named that, and they didn't fight each other. So it kind of the you know they get a lot of heat from the press. But Gervonta Davis, man, he could go. He's special. He got some stuff with him, man, that I haven't seen in a long time. The way he can run guys in the punches, and his patience, and the way he sets traps. He's gonna be really, really tough to beat at 135 pounds.
So I've been taking some slack here from my community. I know that you're way more educated when it comes to history. I've been trying, even my co-host is, look, he just gave me the side eye because he hates that I do this comparison, but I've been trying
I
to
I can't
associate,
see it because I'm driving. I didn't see his face, but go ahead. I'm listening.
Tank Davis with Roberto Duran. Duran moved up to 47 and beat undefeated Sugar Ray Leonard as a gold medalist, as an undefeated welterweight. Yes, Duran had a couple of in between fights I believe he fought Palomino in between there. But you said it. You think Tank's special. I think his uppercuts are amazing. I think he's short, compact, extremely strong, explosive. Like you said, patient. You brought it up. Crawford had issues with Gamboa. Crawford said it in interviews that it was hard to hit Gamboa because he's shorter. Can Tank be our generation's Duran? Can he move up and beat Crawford?
Um, all right, it's not just a
I mean,
simple yes or
and
no
he got the
answer.
power in both hands to associate himself with the whole manos de piedra, hands of stone, right? Like, if there's any
Um,
lightweight that we could compare to Duran, it got to be Tank.
So, coach, before
um,
you give your response, before you give your
Here goes
response,
Danny.
no,
Here
no,
goes
no, no,
Danny.
because I just want to, before you give your response, I'm all for the fight. All I've been saying is fuck the comparison, right? Because then we get into this rabbit hole of the history and who did what. I'm like, fuck the comparisons. I'm like, let's just be great. Move on up. He's already won a version of a belt at 140 pounds.
With a
that
And
was
guy
a
that moved
regular.
up, with a guy that
That was a
moved up
reg.
to
That
welterweight,
was
yeah,
a
though,
that was
Coach.
coach. That
that
was a
was a
regular.
regular belt though.
That was a
That was
regular
a
belt,
regular
but the
belt.
International Hall of Fame acknowledges those, and I'm not bigger than.
And hold on, let me give him some backstory.
Um,
And don't forget, Coach, just information because you see, this is what we do for a living. You're obviously great at what you do, but you're focusing on the fighter. We focus on all the headlines and stuff. So, right, Barrios did fight at 40, started at 22. He is 6 feet. His reach is somewhere in the 70 inch, where Crawford is like 74, I believe. And then
mhm.
Barrios moved up to 47, fought a great welterweight, and Thurman didn't get dropped or knocked down, where in fact in the Tank fight, he got dropped 2 times, actually did flips in Atlanta, then got stopped. But that same Barrios turned around, lost to Thurman, fought a welterweight that went 12 with Broner and also never been stopped, and Barrios stopped that natural welterweight after losing to Thurman. So it's pretty comparable, not to mention that obviously Tank and Crawford share a common opponent in Gamboa. But your thoughts?
Um, if they fought, I would be happy. If they fought. Um, Here's the thing, man. See, when you ask me these questions, I gotta be honest, but I'm gonna be respectful. Tank can be this era's Roberto Duran, but they don't have the zest for the hard matchmaking the way that other eras do. So, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna give you the example that I'm talking about. Duran was already a Hall of Famer before he ever moved up to 147. He had already had 12 defenses of the lightweight title and he unified. And he had 11 by knockout, 11 of his 12 defenses by knockout. He was already a great fighter. He was already a Hall of Famer. He was already one of the greatest fighters in the history of boxing. He was number one pound for pound. And I don't
But
mean to
time out.
correct you.
But time out.
Let,
But right there,
well, let,
if we
let me
compare,
finish.
if we compare Tank to that, isn't he already a Hall of Famer? Already a great fighter?
See, somebody just said that the Hall of Fame recognize regular belts. I
Yeah.
don't believe that. I don't think they recognize regular belts. I think that the real titles, Tank, for as great of a fighter he is, and I think Tank is special. He's only won the belt at 130 pounds. He has not beat one of the champions at 135 or 140. Those is regular belts. In this era, that get passed off like a USBA or NABF title. It's not the same as beating. It's not the same as uh Devin Haney's belts or Shakur Stevenson's belts at 126 and 130. Tank had a real belt at 130, but the regular title is not the same. You know,
Champ.
it's it,
I mean,
so
Coach, I gotta tell you, that Devin Haney's WBA, he doesn't make the mandatory. So for me, I don't care what the Hall of Fame say. If you're the one that making the mandatories, well then you're the champ. Because guess what
okay.
you're
See,
doing?
I don't,
You
I don't,
you
I don't
doing the
know who
heavy
made.
lifting. You doing the heavy lifting for the super champ, so
Listen,
that the super champ can go on to
I'm
unify.
not.
That's why they
I,
created that belt.
I'm not arguing with that. What I'm saying is that for as special of a fighter as Tank is, I'll phrase it this way: We comparing him to Duran. Duran cleaned out the lightweight division before he moved up to 147 pounds. Tank Davis has not cleaned out the lightweight division.
All
As
right, coach,
great
let
as
me
he is,
interject right there. Because you're right, he didn't. But earlier in this sense, in this conversation, you said they did him a disservice by naming him the Four Kings. Technically speaking, only two Four Kings fought, and Tank fought one of them. You
listen,
feel me?
I
You feel
think
me?
listen, I'm not arguing with that. I know what y'all trying to do. I'm not arguing with that. But we don't know if he's the best lightweight in the world or not. We don't know if he could beat Shakur and Haney. And then y'all want him to jump two weight divisions against a freaking killer. I just don't know if that's practical. If
No,
they
you right.
fought, I would say, wow, Tank got a big set of nuts, and I would say Crawford should be the favorite, but the fight will be competitive. But if you asking me overall, you want a guy that's about 5'5" with little bitty arms to fight this big welterweight with a 74-inch reach with that kind of jab. I don't even know if they will be comfortable even messing with Crawford. I'm keeping it real with you. Like Tank's brain trust and whoever makes the decisions for him, they got eyes. They probably look at Crawford like, man, we want to deal with that. I mean, I will listen. I'm being totally honest. I'm a trainer. I advise. I pick fights. I do that, bro. I wouldn't go nowhere near Terrence Crawford if I was Gervonta Davis with the money that he's making, how small he is.
Now, with that same thing in mind,
I,
because
I, I'm just being honest.
I had
I
this
just
one in the
gotta be
cuff.
honest.
I had this one in the cuff because I know that you an advisor. I know that you manage too. So it's like Terrence Crawford just made 22 plus $1 million.
Hmm.
Tank just made 40, coach. He made 40 plus Dan Rayfield is reporting and Ryan made
That's that's
30.
that's what he made. That's what he made off the Garcia fight.
Yeah.
That's what's being
Oh, wow.
That's
reported.
what's
That he
being
made
reported by
40
Dan
and
Rayfield.
that Ryan made 30.
How
Huh.
how else is you tell me, coach, you tell my audience, who the hell is Tank gonna fight to make 40 again, ever, if not name, moving up the welterweight? And I don't think he could do that with Keith Thurman. Like I could see an easy fight with Keith. No disrespect to Keith. I love him. I don't mean easy. I mean easier than Crawford stylistically, right? He's not been as active as Crawford. But even Tank moving the welterweight for Keith ain't gonna make him $40 million. The
Ness,
people gotta
listen.
believe you gonna lose. But again, you're the advisor.
I,
You've
I
been in the
I
back end.
wouldn't
You tell
if it
me.
if it's a money thing. You're right. But let me just say this, and I don't like to talk about another man's pockets, but I gotta say this, and I think y'all gonna understand this. Once you done made 40, right? That's so much money. You don't have to make 40 every single fight. He 25 and 30 is just fine. Once you at that status, when you're making that kind of money, it's maybe 10 fighters in the history of boxing that ever pulled a $40 million night. If that's what y'all saying, that's been reported. You know what I'm saying? So if he's able to pull that kind of money, he don't have to make 40 every time. I just think that Tank's matchmaking is very, very particular, and I think that he's a cash cow. And I don't want to shoot down your thoughts and what you're saying, but I just don't believe that anybody would take the chance to mess with Terrence Crawford
Well,
if they are Gervonta. I think if Keith Thurman was the guy at 147, I think they might roll the dice a little bit and compare the Barrios performances and say Thurman's a little inactive. We may could get him, but bro,
yeah,
Crawford is a different beast, man.
yeah, they
You
jumping
know,
all
and I
over Thurman.
and I don't think that I think that with the way boxing is promoted these days, they want to keep Tank undefeated. And I don't know if you put a 28-year-old kid in the prime of his career that's undefeated in a fight where he's going to be about a 3 or 4 to 1 underdog and possibly lose.
But
So when we
Crawford's gonna
compare
be
the four,
36, coach. He was
I know, but
35 in that Earl fight.
we could we compare the four kings. Them guys are savages. They not like these kids in this era. And that's Roberto Duran is he he's a lunatic. He fought Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler back to back, bro. Guys don't do that. That's all. Ray Leonard, they told him he shouldn't fight, and his eye was messed up, and he had a detached retina, and he fought Hagler off of a 3-year layoff. He was the #1 fighter in the world.
Yeah, but
We don't
coach,
do that in this era.
we
So
do.
so
We do.
who
Earl
who
just
do it?
did it. Earl just did it. You and I
Earl
just
didn't
gotta
move up and wait. Earl
listen.
didn't move up and wait to
But
fight the #1.
but he
That
fought.
was what Ray
He.
Leonard did was the equivalent of Earl fighting Golovkin
I
when
hear you.
Golovkin is the #1 player. It's not
I.
the same thing.
But
Earl
he
fought a
still
guy
fought.
that was in his weight division.
But still arguably the #1 dude in his division, and he still arguably came off a detached retina. Come on, he still got the heart of that era. He
Yo,
said no
I'm not
tune-ups.
Earl is a gun. Earl's my guy. What I'm saying is that it's a little bit different because Tank don't need Crawford to make this kind of money. I'll tell you what, Ness. I'm gonna tell you what y'all do, right? Since you think that we not really seeing eye to eye with this.
No, we
Why don't
are,
y'all
we are, we are.
interview Calvin Ford, I'm sorry, or Leonard Ellaby, and ask them what they put Tank in there with Terrence Crawford?
Nah,
Because I
nah.
don't want to speak for those gentlemen.
I already seen Leonard Ellaby tweets. He ain't doing it. But it
See,
ain't
I
gonna
don't.
come from the matchmakers. It's like you said. Duran was a lunatic. It ain't gonna come from the match. It's gotta come from Tank wanting to
Okay,
be as great as
let me
those
ask you this.
men.
Let me ask you this question, Ness. Listen, I think the fight will be more feasible if Tank lined up Devin, Teofimo, and Shakur, and then now we talking about his status is like off the chart, and he like, you know what? Let me go for the next step. Let me go for the big dog at 147. Don't you like? We still don't know if he can beat them. I'm not saying he can't. He might be able to, but we still don't even know if he can beat the
I'm gonna
three
tell you
best guys
why.
of his age genre.
I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because Earl never took the Canelo fight when it was always talked about, and now he'll never get it. He could have made fuck 30 million, maybe 20 million, 20 something million, and still fought Crawford. But he
Well,
didn't take it.
you know why he didn't take the Canelo fight? I'm gonna tell you why. Because he didn't prove that he was the best welterweight yet, and he wasn't gonna jump 21 pounds without knowing he was the best welterweight because people wouldn't have bought it. So then he fought the best welterweight and he lost. So it comes back down to earth, like, okay, you're a great fighter, but that was a little bit too much to chew. You proving my point. So now
Coach.
you want Tank, he this big, to fight Terrence Crawford at 147. I love
How big is
the
Duran?
Hold
I,
on.
I love
Duran
the
was
ambition.
Coach.
I love the ambition, but it's just a tough fight that y'all asking of that kid, man. I'm just telling
So
y'all that
let,
nobody is putting him in the ring with that dude.
let me ask you this then. What's tougher, um, and what's more competitive in your eyes? And these are both fights being spoke about. Gervonta jumping up 9 pounds currently from where, or 8 pounds from his last fight to 47 to
No,
fight
it'll
Crawl.
be
Hold on,
12 pounds. It's 12 pounds, my man. It's
from
35
30.
to 47.
Well, it
35
was
to
a
it
47.
was
catch
one.
weight to 36.
It was his last fight was 136 catchweight. Remember?
All right. All
So
right, what's
11
11
pounds. I'm
pounds?
sorry. 11 pounds. I'm sorry. Or Terrence jumping 21 to fight the winner of Charlo and Canelo, because that's what he said he wants next.
Um, I think that's a big jump, but it's different styles. I'm just
You like
listen, man.
that one though, coach. You like that one though,
No,
huh?
listen. That's a great comparison, but it's just different styles. And Terrence Crawford, man, listen, he's good at. I never, when I watch a fighter, right, of this era, I always look, and most times I say he's good for this era. Terrence Crawford is good for any era. Terrence Crawford could hang with any welterweight in the history of boxing, bro.
Mm.
There's only two guys that I would favor to beat him of the last 40 years. That's Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns. I wouldn't favor nobody else to beat him. I'm not saying he could beat everybody else. What I'm
Hearns?
saying is I would not favor nobody else to beat him. My man, if you ain't seen Tommy Hearns, you don't know no better. That dude won titles from
I
147
seen
to
Hearns.
175.
I
He won
seen
titles
Hearns, but
from
out of all of
147 to
those
1.
dudes though, wasn't he the chinniest though? And with Crawford's welterweight power, I'm just saying,
Well,
like, it would
Hearns
be
was 32. Ness. you're a little young, man. Hearns was 32
Well,
and
this
0
is a
with 30
question,
knockouts at
Coach.
one.
This
He,
was a
I
question.
know.
I said,
Listen,
wasn't he a
Tommy
little
Hearns,
chinny?
he may have been a little chinny, but he's the best puncher in the history of the division. He was 32 and 0 with 30 knockouts going into the Leonard fight. That's what he was. 32 and 0 with 30 knockouts. Check his box rec. He was a brutal, brutal right hand puncher. He was 6'1". He had a 78-inch reach. It's a that's a lot to deal with at 147 pounds,
But
and he
didn't
was
he
good
lose
enough to
that
win
fight?
titles to 147 to 175.
But didn't
So
he
that's a
lose that fight though?
he lost to a special guy.
But
I
that's what I.
mean, he
Come on,
he lost
champ.
to
You go.
he he lost to Ray Leonard,
All
bro.
right,
He lost to
but
Ray
Leonard
Leonard.
had
We can't.
but but
I
again,
don't.
but
I don't
Leonard
know.
had a less knockout ratio. Like Crawford is
He
a known knockout puncher. So I'm
he
saying,
he
yeah,
lost.
Hearns had the right hand, but it comes down to can you land that right hand before Crawford hits your chinny chin chin.
Paul Hearns had more than the right hand. He possibly got the best jab in history. But I don't want to get into that. I'm telling you what my opinion is. I think that Crawford is a
And that sets
special
up
Yo,
transcendent
let him
level
orthodox.
fighter.
talk, champ.
No, because we got to go back to coaching. Coach, that sets up orthodox versus southpaw. To Hearns' beautiful jab, you know it gets limited. Orthodox and southpaw end up fucking pity patting each other's lead arm. Yes, it
Uh
opens up the right hand and the left hand for each of them, but you usually end up jockeying for position with that lead hand. The southpaw ends up catching the orthodox's jab, right or wrong.
Not so much when you got a 6-inch height advantage. He's a lot taller than Crawford, so he'll be able to come down with the shot and be able to. His reach is a lot longer, and he's a lot taller, so it kind of evens itself out when guys are the same height, and then their hands got to cancel each other out. But when one guy's 5'8" and one guy's 6'1", it's a little bit different. You to make your point, you didn't factor in that Hearns is way taller and way longer, so it's hard. It's hard to compare that with him. It's like saying he can't hit Hagler. He was able to hit Hagler easy. Hagler just a monster and was able to overcome him because he's the strongest middleweight we ever seen. But he could hit him. You know what I'm saying? He could hit him out of the southpaw stance. It's a different fight. I'm just telling you, you talk to any trainers, you talk to any matchmakers, Tommy Hearns is probably the hardest matchup in the history of boxing at 147 pounds. That's all I'm saying. I'm not getting into who will win or lose. I'm saying that from what my eyes tell me, Leonard and Hearns are the only guys that I would favor over Crawford. I'm not saying he could beat Floyd. I'm not saying he could beat Oscar. What I'm saying is that if they opened up betting lines, those two would be slight favorites. I think him and Floyd would probably be even money. That's how good Crawford is. He's on the level. And y'all expect Tank. And I'm just not saying y'all, but when I say
I
y'all, I'm
do.
just
I
speaking in
do
general.
expect Tank.
Expect to okay, well, you expect Tank to move up to 47. I don't think that we've seen that type of matchmaking with Tank because he's undefeated and because of the money that he makes. I don't believe that would get chance, and I don't blame him. I think he, I think that he has a better shot of fighting guys like Shakur and Haney. I really do. I think that they're more his size. Crawford's awfully strong, man.
No,
You know,
super
his
strong.
his physical strength
Do you see
is
how far he
very
pushed Earl when he used his forearm? That was
he
crazy.
he's very he don't look it, but he's extremely physical. That's why he's such a good finisher because you can't hold him. You can't clinch him when you're in trouble. He has that wrestling background. He's extremely strong. So Tank is giving up. Man, look what he's giving up in the fight. He would. I'm telling. Put it this way. I'm a Roger coattail. If Tank took that fight, win, lose, or draw, he already walking in the Hall of Fame,
That's what
and
I'm saying.
he's the man of this era. If he
And
would
he
even
making
get
the
in the
most
ring
money
with
he
that
ever
guy,
made.
I
yeah,
don't
if
know
he would
about
get in the
that.
ring with that guy, if he would just walk in the ring with
What?
that guy,
You
he
think
he, he
you
he's on another level.
hold on? You think that's a bigger fight than him and Ryan?
Tank? Ryan is over. Of course,
No, no,
Tank
no.
and Crawford's a bigger fight.
Yeah, I don't know that that does better
Brother, let
commercially,
me tell
brother.
you something. Hey, coach, I don't know
Uh,
if you noticed that this fight was brought up to Crawford by Sway's Universe, Charlemagne the God, Ebro on Hot 97. I mean, he everywhere he went, Joe Rogan, everywhere he went, they asked him about Tank.
okay. Listen, I'm not trying to shoot the fight down. I'm not trying to be a cynic. What I'm saying is that in my opinion, that I don't believe that kind of fight. After what we just seen from Crawford, that last fight, I'm telling you that I don't believe that that fight would get made anytime in the near future
Mm.
Nah,
because
he
I
was.
don't the status quo for this era is to not match that kind of fight with a fighter like Tank. Now, if I'm wrong, if they make the fight next, I'll come on here and I'll say I'm wrong.
No,
But from
no.
everything that I've seen about boxing, everything that I know about the business side of boxing, nobody would take that kind of chance and mess around with Tank. Why do you listen?
Let me
Tank
ask you this
got a
then.
catch
Let me.
weight with Ryan because Ryan's a little big. Ryan's a little big. He's about 5'10".
That's
Everybody
just
knows he wanted
that's
to
just A
rehydrate.
side tactics. That's just A
He
side tactics.
okay. So was he? If you got a catch weight with Ryan for 136, where you gonna fight? Where you gonna fight Crawford at? Crawford's a
Coach,
strong dude, bro.
he is.
You
He
see
is,
that
but
jab? Like nobody's gonna put
let
Tank in a fight
let
that
me
he
ask
don't
you.
really that he can't win.
Speaking of that jab, theoretically, based off what we seen, is Tank not capable of slipping to the right and coming right up with the uppercut? I mean,
Sure. Yo, listen, Gervonta Davis set some of the best traps I've ever seen. I listen. I get criticized because I rate Tank so highly because I rank a lot of guys off the eyeball test and not so much off of their resumes because of the way I think about Boots, because of the way I thought about Crawford. I could even remember this, Ness. You might not remember this. A couple years ago, you asked me my pound for pound, and I said in a way, and you said, "Come on,
yeah,
coach,
yeah, yeah. I
come on,
remember.
coach."
I
Blah
remember.
blah 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 blah. And I said, "Man, my eyes are my eyes. That's a special fighter." And you went on and on about we don't know this and we don't know. I said, "That's a special fighter. I'm telling you." So I rate Tank extremely high. I think he's a special fighter. I do. But and I'm not saying Crawford will kill him. I'm not saying that. But the perception of the fight will be Tank can't win. And I've never seen a fighter in his position take that kind of fight that they don't have to take. You brought up Crawford and Canelo, but here's the difference. Crawford wants to get out of boxing. Crawford is about to be 36 next month. Crawford said he got a couple more fights. Tank's 28. He got a long way to go. So I haven't seen a guy take that kind of fight just to take it this early in their career. Guys take longer to develop now. If Tank was 34, 35, and there was no money at lightweight, maybe I could see it. But now, bro, Tank gonna get 20 million fighting John Doe. Don't matter who he fighting now. He the star. He one of the faces of boxing. And now that Earl lost, he's the biggest fighter in PBC. So it's just I
Whoa,
just don't
whoa,
know if they're gonna
whoa,
take that
whoa.
chance.
Coach, he hold
He
on.
got Canelo over there
And
now,
Crawford over there,
Oh, you know
technically.
what?
and
I,
Crawford
I,
over
I
there
you
technically
know what?
for another
You know
fight.
what? You know what? Let me take that back. I didn't really consider Crawford and Canelo PBC fighters, but you guys are right. Now they are with the PBC. You're right.
But coach,
I didn't consider them PBC fighters.
since you were the one to first put me on a new way, and we're talking all this jumping up, Inoue's promoter. I know you've seen it because you're a fan of him. Inoue's promoter wants to fight Tank. Everybody's okay with
I
that.
didn't see that.
What?
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
No, I
right
didn't
after
see
the
that.
Fulton fight, they said their plan is to
Okay.
do a pay-per-view fight with Tank. Like that, they're building him.
Oh,
So they the world is okay with Inoue moving up another 13, right? What is it, 19? How many pounds he got to move up to fight Tank?
13.
who's the world? Because I'm in the world, and I think that Inoue is biting off more than he could chew if he fight Tank at 135. So who is the world? If he takes that fight, Inoue is gonna get hurt. He can't beat Tank in no
Well,
135
they
pounds
got
right
him
now.
walking through everybody at 26.
Or that's still not. You still got 30 and 35. It's still not the same. He probably can beat everybody at 26, but that's not 30 and that's not 35. He ain't beating Tank in no 135 pounds, and he used to fight at 108, and he just moved to 122. If y'all think that he can do that, then
Pacquiao did it.
I'll hold the bets. He ain't Pacquiao. I'll hold the bets. He ain't Pacquiao. That's a once in a lifetime fighter, man. And let me
Coach.
just tell you this, Ness. If you look at Pacquiao and Inoue next to each other, if you like look at their bodies, their muscle density is totally different. Even though they both are smaller guys, Pacquiao head, his arms, his legs, everything is way bigger. He's just a bigger human being than he now. I saw them together. I was like, God damn, Manny must have been huge as a flyweight. He's a lot bigger than him. I'm sure you could Google the pictures and you see their frames. It's just different, and it doesn't mean Manny's better, but physically their bodies is just so different. Pacquiao was able to put that weight on, and Inoue wasn't. And another thing, I hate to do the comparison, but Inoue is like 30 and just getting to 122. Pacquiao was at 122 when he was 23 years old, and that's when he moved up from 22 to 26 to fight Pereira. So he was way in a way. You could tell he's not as big because it's taking him too long to move up. Where Pacquiao was already at 140, 147 by the time he was 30. So it's just different body types when it comes down to that.
Coach,
Coach,
you a beast,
hold on,
Coach.
hold
You
on.
a beast,
Coach, two
man.
things. Given that you don't recognize or acknowledge regular titles, how many division champions do you consider Pacquiao to be?
8 because he won the lineal and the ring title in every weight division and in the divisions. Uh, for example, at 126, Barrera was the ring and lineal champion, right? At one at 140, he beat Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton was the ring champion. So those are the two titles where that he didn't win, like the WBC, WBA, IBF, or IBO. Those are the two divisions that he didn't win that in, but he beat the ring and lineal champion. If you beat the ring and lineal champion, I don't have a problem with it. But if you just win in regular, but and I'm not attacking Tank's resume because I don't want the interview to get twisted. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that he hasn't won one of the real belts at 35 or 40. That's all I'm saying.
No, I
At
was just
30,
asking because
he
I
beat
know I know Pacquiao won like you said like the IBO and something like is you
against Ricky Hatton, but Ricky Hatton was the lineal champion that beat Costa Azul. You feel what I'm saying?
But
So
didn't he lose to
it,
Floyd before he fought
at,
Pacquiao?
four, at 47, that's look at his box record. He lost to Floyd at 47, and then he moved back down to defend his title at 40. He had just jumped to 47 to fight Floyd. That was a money fight, but Ricky Hatton was a 40 pounder, and Barrera was the guy at 126. You know what I mean? He was the man at 126. He was a pound for pound guy. He was the ring champion. So those are the two divisions that Pacquiao was in. But look who he beat to win the title. He beat two Hall of Famers to win those two titles. So Pacquiao, his we never gonna see that again. You know what I mean? 8 titles. That's just like if you really think about it, that's like mind twisting for a guy from 112 to be able to win titles all the way up to junior middleweight. That's a lot. I don't expect in a way or anybody else to do that.
now let me ask you since you've known of Inoue and follow him for some years now. Can you educate me cuz I'm one of the guys that I look at it. I was a casual back then. I'm not going to lie to you. But when I look at it on paper, to me it seemed like damn, he jumped 112 when all the killers was at 112. When Chocolatito
Um,
was there was squat when everybody was at 112, he went from 08 to 15.
um, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I just always thought he was a good fighter. So I don't know what his body was doing. Sometimes
Mm.
guys got to jump divisions. It happens. If you look at Pacquiao real good, he did the same thing. Pacquiao jumped 115 to 118. Nobody realizes that he could be a 10 division champion. He went from 112 to 122. So sometimes guys go through those little growth spurts and they just, especially little guys from other countries. So I don't know. I can't really go back on the timeline and pinpoint exactly, who he should have fought at 112, but I do know he jumped that weight division and went straight to 115, but I can't tell you why. Maybe he was just outgrowing the weight. These guys cut too much weight, and sometimes it's better to jump 2 divisions instead of one because a lot of these fighters are depleted in this era with all of the tricks that we got from being able to get the weight off of water and stuff like that, but they walking around 50 pounds and 40 pounds over their weight division, and that it takes a toll on you physically. Y'all guys look like y'all in pretty good shape. You know, Imagine losing 40 pounds and then having to fight somebody, for 12 rounds. So I think that the whole era is playing around with the scales a little bit too much, but that's a story for another day. That's why I think that Charlo and Canelo is going to be more competitive than people think because Charlo's not no small guy. You know what I mean? And when you don't have to cut all of that weight and do all of the tricks, sometimes you be a little bit more fresher in the ring. Um, instead of having to deplete yourself all the time.
Coach, so what you got cooking? Because I seen you a couple days ago, which to me could be more than 1 or 2 weeks, but you posted something about my boy Zachary Ochoa and how you feel, you miss him and how he's such a hard worker. But there's so many different avenues. Like, why we can't get him a fight on OTX or I mean, there's
Um,
just so much going on right now. Like that he could
uh,
keep moving and stay active. Is he still
he
with
got
you?
he got a fight October 4th. I just
There we
spoke to him.
go.
He just got in town for camp. Literally,
Okay.
I just spoke with him. He got a nice little fight
Welterweight?
October 4th. Junior welterweight. He got a fight
Oh,
at
wow.
junior
He got to go
welterweight.
up? Wait, no, down. So he got to go to 140.
He's 35, 40. He's like an in-betweener. So 40 is pretty natural to him. But he's fighting October 4th in Florida. So he do have a fight. He just literally just got in town for
Pro
camp.
box? Because you said Florida. Is it going to be pro box?
You know what? His dad handles the management for him. I believe it is pro. I just know the date is October 4th in Florida.
For sure.
That
For sure. I'll
yeah,
reach
I
out
know
to
the
him. I'll reach out so I get him
yeah,
on.
yeah. He's literally. I just talked to him. He's literally getting into his Airbnb right now, and we're starting camp, so that should be good.
So
Coach.
I know you, I'm sorry, brother. I know you have Chiron as well, who fought Benavidez, but also sparred Crawford. How competitive is Crawford going to be with a Canelo?
You gotta ask Karan. You gotta ask Karan. He the one in there taking them punches. But he spoke really, really highly of both guys actually. He said Benavidez is a terrific fighter, and he was in camp with Crawford, and he said he learned a lot. One of the things he told me about Crawford was that he could really thread a needle, that he can really get punches in small spaces, and you
Mm.
don't really think the punch is gonna be hard. And he said, because he don't really load up, you don't think it's gonna be hard, but then right at the last second, he'll twist the shot in, and you'll feel it. He said that he's like he used the word unique. He's like he's a different kind of puncher. He's not like the most heavy-handed guy that he's ever felt. Well, Karan's a big guy and he's durable. He said, but he knows how to like sneak those punches in and really thread a needle in small areas and hit you with some tough shots. He spoke really high of Crawford.
I don't know if you do this on the record, but like if you do, would you mind giving us your prediction for Canelo and Crawford? Like, but with an actual prediction, not like, oh, it's gonna be a good fight. May the best man win.
If if Crawford and Canelo fought,
Yep. Assuming obviously Canelo looked good, because I know people like to say, well, I got to see how he looked. No, he looked good beating Charlo.
um, Crawford by split decision.
Okay, so you think he could outbox him?
Yes.
So the knockout streak stops with Canelo because he's never been down and he's never been out.
No, I don't think Crawford could stop Canelo. But winning and stopping is different. So
For sure.
you put me on the spot. If they were to fight, I think Crawford by decision. I know I sound crazy. I know I sound crazy, but that's just my opinion, and that's how highly I think of Crawford, and I just think that he's a special fighter, and if and the smaller guy has an advantage if he could take the punch and he's physically strong. And I think that he has. Everybody's not made to jump weight. Certain body types and certain characteristics allow you to jump weight, and he has those characteristics. Some of the special fighters that I've seen in the past, where they may not win every time they jump weight, but they can be competitive up there. Canelo got those characteristics, by the way, because he used to be a 54 pounder and he could fight bigger guys. But I think Crawford's legs are so mobile and he's so locked in and he embraces the big moment so much. I think that he will win a decision. I don't think he could stop him, but I think he could win a decision.
Coach, any news on Caleb? Anything cooking?
Well, y'all out there in Vegas. I know the big slap happened. I don't think that he'll be fighting Jamal Charlo next.
Mm.
I just saw Caleb. The last thing I heard was that he's had a tough schedule, so I think that he'll probably fight. You know, maybe not a big name, but somewhere a notch below that in the fall, excuse me, or winter, and then a big name coming next spring. But right now, as far as
He
I know, he don't
deserves
have
it.
any
Now,
opponent. I mean, he
now,
fought Benavidez, Canelo, and Durrell back to back to back. He done took some tough fights.
now, what would you compare from the Charlo, the Canelo, and the Benavidez slaps? Like out of the three, where would you rate the Charlo one?
Don't do that.
I don't want to get into that, man. I'm a little older, man. I don't really. I think that these guys got to be careful with getting into stuff outside of the ring, and I think that the security. I don't want to make fun of something like that. I'm from a place where you could lose your life over stuff like that.
Word.
So I don't really. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff, man. I don't really. Caleb did what he had to do to defend his honor or whatever. I'm not
Absolutely.
saying he was wrong, but what I'm saying is that everybody got to be careful with stuff like that. You could get hurt doing stuff like that. Just being involved in that kind of stuff, man. I know people, seriously been killed over that kind of stuff. So these young guys, they got to stop that because you get embarrassed, they get on social media, and then these entourages that don't really serve a purpose except to do goon shit. They start
Mm.
it just takes on a whole nother level that we making a lot of money in this game. So people gotta just be careful, even with their words and their actions, to even make things go that far. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe Caleb was kind of put in that situation where he didn't have a choice. But we all just gotta be wiser. Is one reason why if y'all ever see me out, I'm very respectful to everybody. I don't play in a certain kind of way because I don't want nobody playing with me in a certain kind of way. So I'm conscious of that. So Jamal's a cool kid. Caleb is obviously my fighter. That's like my little brother. I don't want to see nothing stupid happen outside of the ring where one of those guys entourages, put want to do something or somebody is forced one of them guys could kill each other in the street fight. You know what I'm saying? They hit each other the wrong way, you fall, hit your head, you get stomped out. Something bad can happen from that kind of stuff. So, they just security, everybody got to just be mindful of that.
Coach, are you still with Julian?
Yes. Mhm. You saw his last fight, didn't you?
Um, do what sort of say did you have in that Charlo fight? I need to take you back a few years.
What do you mean? What say?
Obviously,
What do you mean? Like as
obviously,
far as taking the fight?
yes. You know, he wanted it. Charlo didn't really want it because he felt he couldn't make weight.
Well, he
Um,
was the mandatory. So we didn't just want the Charlo fight. We wanted our shot at the title because Julian had became the mandatory with the IBF. So Charlo just happened to be the champion. We didn't care whether it was him or anybody. We didn't rank ourselves. The IBF
no,
ranked us.
for sure. But
We
you know
became
that Julian put a lot of pressure on Charlo. You know, the word around the street was Charlo was going to vacate. Julian found that out, took to social media, put a lot of pressure on Charlo. And, Charlo responded to that on social media and said, you guys think I'm going to duck this guy? He even chose his post fight. And he eventually fought your guy to prove to the world that he wasn't avoiding your guy. Did you not feel it was that way?
he did. I give him his props because he didn't have to take the fight. He did. But as far as the pressure, Julian's a fighter. He wanted to fight for a world title, and Charlo was the champion. And if you remember correctly, when we became the mandatory, um, for Charlo, Charlo for Austin Trout, in his next fight. He didn't fight Julian right away. So, Julian being a young guy and wanting his shot, he wanted his shot. And, it's easy to say now, well, he shouldn't have called them out. But fighters, that's what fighters do. They take smoke and they take tough fights and they go after tough people. And he didn't want to fight for a vacant title. He wanted to fight a real champion. And he fought Charlo and he lost. But that's what happens is a winner and a loser in a fight. Like that's just like somebody saying why Earl Spence didn't move up because because Crawford wanted to smoke. Well, fighters, real fighters, they fight. So Charlo, props to him. He stayed down in the division one more fight, and he gave his mandatory a shot, and he won the fight. So it's not no say. I didn't have any say, good or bad, in it. Julian was the mandatory, and he wanted his shot, and he got his shot. And then he waited 2.5 years, became the mandatory again when he beat Nathaniel Gallimore and got another shot. That's what fighters do.
So the reason I bring that up is obviously, again, if you don't put pressure on a champion, there is no public perception. He moves up, he vacates, you fight for the vacant title, and you earn that experience that we were talking about that Boots doesn't have. And I'm specifically asking you that because you've been through it now. So I'm saying, in hindsight, and obviously Crawford is way more experienced than Jamal Charlo, different type of talent as well. So I'm just saying, in hindsight now, should that same situation be repeated with Boots and Crawford, or should, Boots allow himself to grow and not necessarily rush at a Crawford?
Um, that's a good question, but I'm gonna say no because Julian and Boots is different fighters. You know what I'm saying? They different fighters. And
In what way,
a fighter,
coach?
I mean, they just different. Julian's my guy. I love him to death, but Boots is probably a little bit more naturally talented. You know, and if I could do it all over again with Julian and Jamal, I'd do it all over again. I think he was fighting his ass off that fight. He just got caught with a big shot. And I think that a fighter has to be willing to fight and all of that, slow down and do this and do that. Once you get to a certain point, Boots is 26 years old. If Crawford would have got his shot way earlier than what he did, then his legacy would be even better. He didn't get a big pay-per-view till he was 35. Imagine if Crawford would have started getting pay-per-views when he was 28, 29, and 30. Imagine where he would be right now in his career. So I think they slowed Crawford down a little bit too much. And I think that Boots is just fine. If Boots want to fight, give him the fight. I don't think a fighter's mentality should be like that. I think once a fighter start acting like a manager, then it takes away his ability to be a fighter. I think a fighter should want to fight anybody, anytime, available for any style, adaptable to any style. I don't believe in all of that kind of stuff. So I think that as long as Boots believes that he could beat Crawford and wants to fight, then he should, if they give it to him, he should be able to take it. I believe a fighter has to believe that in their mind. And once that doubt start creeping in, and once a fighter start allowing people to hold them back and don't do this, or that guy is too tough for you, it takes away from you as a fighter. So I'm glad that Julian had that mentality, and I'm glad Crawford got his. I'm glad that Boots has his mentality.
Coach, go ahead and give out your social media. I know you got to get to work. We appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much. You've educated me. I see the fans over there. They're like, thank God he came on here and told you about Durant. I just been trying to give Boots and
Tank.
Tank and his team inspiration to be greater than the people from the past, or as
Well,
great. Because
let me
people
ask you
love to
this
say that era's better than this era. I'm living in this era. I want
before
to
you
big up
go.
this era.
Before you go, let me ask you this: the best soldiers are volunteers. What is Tank and his team saying about fighting Crawford? Forget about what I gotta say. Dude, what are they saying? Are they
Well,
saying he can win?
before the fight,
Before the fight,
Tank said Bud had a glass chin.
it was a lot Tank was saying before the fight. No one's gotten the ability to interview him, specifically ask him that question just yet. Like, we don't even know
Okay,
we only know what he felt about the fight second party, because he watched it with Richardson Hitchens, and we interviewed him, and he told us, that Tank lost money to him because he bet on Earl.
got you. Okay, I was just curious because we could talk about this all they want, but it will be up to Tank to say I want to jump 2 weight divisions and fight him. If he did that, then you do know the fight will be made pretty easily,
Yeah,
right?
but
Um,
it starts in the media first. It starts with the fans the same way. Like now, honestly speaking, Tank can't run from it. I mean, all his major outlets are talking about it. not only
Oh,
like
really?
the oh yeah, the hip hop
See,
sites, everything,
see,
the
I don't.
radio
I
stations.
I'm a boxing fan, but I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. So if that's happening, then I'm all for it. But I would be.
Yeah.
I,
I mean, it's the who's who. Joe
oh
Rogan is
yeah.
Joe
Oh yeah.
Rogan. Charlemagne is Charlemagne. We got Ebro on Hot 97, and all the major
Sway.
podcasts. Sway in the Sway Universe.
Right.
They asked him on the major podcast that he's been on. What was that? Leisure and Sports or something like that. I mean, everyone
Oh.
is it. You know, um, I'm shocked that mainstream media is asking him those questions because yeah, they're two divisions
Uh,
apart. But I
Me
get it
too.
because of but the power. I get it because of the power. Everybody believes Tank could do anything because he hits so hard.
The media is in love with Tank, and sometimes the guys that are casuals, they don't realize that the weight divisions, they just want to see the biggest fights because they create big events. But if that fight were to happen, trust me, I'm not being the cynic. I would go. I think it's a great matchup. I just don't know if anybody would ever take the chance with Tank to put him against Crawford and the way Crawford has been looked in his last fight.
Do you got time for one more question? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, quick.
Should
I
Deja
got my
Green
kid.
should
I
Deja
got my kid right
Green
here getting ready.
should Deja Green versus Clarissa Shields? Because I hear did Shadeja work with Boo? Well, damn, you know. Oh yeah, she sparred Julian. Didn't she spar Julian?
Who?
Shadeja Green. They went
Shit.
down there. Coach Terrific went down to your gym to spar with Hakeem Nurse, spar Julian, right? And didn't Julian work with Shadeja?
No, man. Uh-uh.
Hmm.
No, he
Okay.
boxed Hakeem Nurse. We had Hakeem Nurse in camp for the Jarrett Hurd fight. That's true. But Julian ain't never sparred no girl.
Hmm.
Uh-uh.
But did you
Mm-mm.
see her work ever? And what's your thoughts on that
Uh
fight?
I never seen her work. I seen her fight one time. So I want to be fair to the young lady. I don't know enough about her.
Hmm.
I hear she's a big puncher, and it's not a lot of big punchers in women's boxing. So I hear that she has a lot of knockouts, but I only seen her fight once. I feel like Clarissa Shields is the best fighter in the world as far as the women is concerned. So I have to see the other young lady first. But no, man, I never let Julian box a woman. That never happened, man. I don't know
You
who said that
why
to
you
you.
can't work with a girl, coach? I mean, is there such thing
Um,
as working, or is your sparring just like wars over there?
no, no, I didn't say that I would never. I said I never let him do it. It's
Oh,
never even been like uh,
situation.
uh, yeah, it's never been like a situation where somebody's like, yo, you want to box that woman right there? That's never even happened. She may have came down here with them before. I can't tell you who all came down when they wanted this when they were sparring or whatever. But I do remember the kid Hakeem Nurse. He's real good at imitating styles, and he came down and I hired him for a couple of camps. I think I hired him for 2 camps, but that's been a long time ago. I can't remember the young lady if she was here or not.
Mm.
But
Well,
I hear that they going back and forth, and
yeah.
so and if she's a big puncher, Shields is a great fighter, but she don't have a lot of knockouts, so that could probably create some intrigue about the fight. But I haven't seen the young lady enough, so I really can't tell you right now.
Well, Coach, I do appreciate you, man. I'm not gonna hold you any longer. Thank you for the lesson today, and hope to get you back on soon. Give out your social media because I had a bunch of people in the live chat definitely asking for your Instagram.
Uh, what am I on Instagram? The bread underscore man, I think, and on Twitter is Breadman Boxing.
Yep, yep. That
Yep,
is the
yep,
underscore
yep.
the bread underscore
Underscore man, right?
man.
Yeah, and
Yep,
then Breadman
yep.
Boxing on Twitter.
All
On
right,
Twitter, yep.
Coach. Well, enjoy the day, man,
Thank you for the
and
time.
tell Ochoa I'll be hitting him up.
Oh, appreciate that. See you
All
guys
right,
later. Thank you.
Yes,
for
sir.
sure.
Thank you, Coach.
That
Shout
was
out to
great.
Stephen Breadman Edwards for joining us
That was
on the
great.
What
show.
up, YouTube family? Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1,000,000 subscribers. We're on the road to 1,000,000. And Obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content or right here on our YouTube members.